We're going to discuss another terrible API from the Android team, which is the edge-to-edge enforcement. According to documentation, once your app runs on Android 15 and above, the UI of your app will now extend up to the system bars. The system bars include the status bar and navigation bar. Then, according to this documentation as well, if your app is using a view base or the XML, the old UI framework of Android, and using the following components of the material design, then the inset should be automatically handled by these components. So you do not need to change anything on your code theoretically, but in my experience, bottom navigation view only works outside of the box. The navigation rail view handles the status bar inset, but the display cutout is not being handled. Anyway, our project, here we have an activity that has ViewPager 2, which also contains 4 fragments. And here we are handling the system bar insets by ourselves, including the display cutout inset, such as for devices that has hole punch camera, right? And in each fragment, we are also handling the system bar insets, right? Now, the concept is pretty simple for this API. Once our UI was rendered on the screen, we were going to retrieve the system bars insets and also the display cutout insets. So once we get the height of the navigation bar and the status bar, we are now going to apply either a padding or a margin to our view so that we are preventing the overlapping between system bars and the UI of our application. So we're going to test this API first on Android 5. I will show you the first issue of this API. So now we're going back here and we're going to launch this activity. So as you can see, our first fragment received the insets, the second, the third, and the fourth, right? Now, when we scroll for the overview fragment, it handles the system bar insets. Here, we are handling the navigation bar insets. Similar to the second fragment, we are handling it, and the third as well. It works, right? So now, the first problem of this API is configuration change. I'm going to show you that when I rotate this device, we are no longer going to retrieve the system bar insets for other fragments. So we receive the inset here. As you can see, we only receive the system bar insets on the first fragment of this view pager. Now, at this point, this is not a problem because the navigation bar is on the right side always for a device that is using a 3-button navigation, right? But once we run our device on a much newer version of Android, here we are using the gesture navigation. Here we have a similar behavior with the Android 5. We also are retrieving each insets, right? So basically there's nothing wrong here. Each inset is being received by our UI. Now, if I rotate this as well, as you can see, we are only retrieving the insets on the overview fragment. The profile fragment, the exchange fragment did not receive the insets. including the metrics fragment. That is the first issue of this API. Upon trying with Android 5 running on a tablet device, which is a Pixel C tablet, when I tried to do the same thing, do the same scenario with the configuration change, right? We will see that if I rotate the device to trigger the configuration change, I was able to receive all of the callbacks on each fragment, right? So at this point, I really don't know what is happening. Some works with configuration change, some of them are not. Upon searching on the issue tracker, I discovered that there is a new API for the ViewPager 2, which is called Window Insets Applier. If my understanding is correct, this should fix our problem, but what I don't understand is it says that this fix should be used only on API 30 below. We are running SDK 35, which is Android 15, so I really don't get what is the problem that we are having here. So supposedly we no longer need this API for this Android 15, right? It doesn't support collapsing toolbar, I guess, at this moment. So if you see, the way collapsing toolbar works is a bit different from a traditional top-up bar or toolbar. So if I'm going to apply the same solution that documentation is providing us, and once again run our app, you will see that the collapsing toolbar is now, you know, not working properly, and the button is also missing, right? So that is another issue. For those who are interested in this issue, I already filed a bug on the material component repository of Android. You can go ahead and check this ticket and see if you have a solution, because as of this moment there seems no official solution on how a collapsing toolbar and material toolbar will behave to edge-to-edge enforcement, right? So there you have it. Once you implement it, you are now being forced to have a large space on some of your UI. So when, for example, on the developer option, we enable the show layout bounds. So you can see there will be a large space in between the toolbar here and the body or the content, just so we avoid overlapping this magnificent hole punch camera on our device. The most confusing part of this API. If we're going to look at our main activity, which also holds 4 fragment, right? And each fragment has their own management of their inset or the system bar insets. Once we, for example, go to the market cap, you will see we are getting the callback for the inset, right? So The status bar does not overlap our app UI as well as recycler view behind the navigation bar. So, the problem here is when I rotate the device, as you can see, there is no trigger, right? Look at this. The status bar overlaps our graph, and the recycler view no longer add the padding, right? So, I don't know what is the problem here, but yeah, it's just another fragmented behavior, I guess. Comparing that to our Android 5 that is running on a regular mobile or phone device, as you can see, it's being triggered, right? So basically at this point, I really have no idea what are the problem. I guess I will look back to the documentation, but I already checked every related issue on the Google issue tracker, but none of them works. There is a new API on the alpha version of Core KTX, but that one also is not working because if I remember correctly, it has something to do with the non-null parameter that is required. So unfortunately for those who are adopting this new API, we are currently in a development hell waiting for them to fix this. I just wish Google and Android team avoid releasing such features and API while it is not fully tested, or at least not doing enough research, because this is very frustrating now. So yeah, that's all about it. Thank you for listening and watching my rant about this API.